Hi and welcome. Gravel World Championships, the UCI Gravel World Championships are in the books. I'm here with Paul. Great to have you.
Hello. Hi, Thomas.
Sadly, it was not the day you were looking for, and we will come to your day and your experience in a bit when we talk about the men's race. But I would like that we take it chronologically and we start talking about the women's race and what happened in there. So I haven't been on location, so all I know is the stuff we saw on TV. And let's directly start there. For quite some time, when even after the broadcast started, which in our preview we talked about, they only show the last 2 hours allegedly. But then for the first 30 minutes, there are no live pictures. They even have to run 2 times. Poor Marty McDonald has to talk 2 times over the recorded pictures from earlier until they get live pictures. That to me was really sad and also a bit poor execution. Luckily, we didn't have the same issue in the men's race, but when we finally come on to live pictures, essentially the race is more or less done. We will, spoiler alert, we will talk about this in a second. But let's also talk about who didn't start, because there are quite some notable names that we still had on our list when we previewed Worlds. And from a German perspective, sadly, Caroline Schiff couldn't start because she had COVID before. Then the current Tour de France avec Swift, Niewiadoma, the winner, obviously, Kasia Niewiadoma,
Yeah.
Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, Gerike G. Schreurs, and Blanca Was, all not starting for various reasons. Anyone I missed according to your insights?
No, that's right. I mean, Kasia Niewiadoma, that was known before that she won't take the start. But yeah, Caroline was a bit of a surprise. I hope she will be fit and ready for the upcoming European Championships. Yeah, and Pauline Pronveron, it was a shame that she wasn't there. And obviously Blanca Was, I had as a tip for a podium. Yeah, obviously also a shame that she wasn't there. But yeah, still quite a few big names have been there.
Here go our tips
Yeah.
already before this. Yeah. And then when it comes to the tech TV troubles, I mean, just for the viewers, it's such a shame because we really even don't get to see the final last 2 hours. But I guess c'est la vie.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it in Belgium television, so there were actually two people commentating, so it was a bit easier than for the Discovery Channel commentator who was really on the limit, commentating it alone. But yeah, I guess they still have to figure out how to do it 100% right with these gravel races, because like I saw it also on Sunday after I stopped, but we come to it later. That like how many TV motorbikes are actually around, and certain bikes did a certain part of the course and then they went off course to go to the next part. So from the organization point of view, it must have been also pretty a nightmare. And I think it's pretty hard to execute it really well and right. But yeah, I think
Definitely.
there's still points to improve, but I think it's a good start. And if that is like the lowest we will have on level, then it will be better in the next years, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, once we had pictures, to be fair, we definitely did quite some good pictures. Also acknowledging how hard it is to get through these technical sections, and you cannot interfere with the race. But I think that was, once it was live, it was pretty good. But just this start was a bit annoying. Well, it
Yeah,
kept.
and two things I want to add there, which I saw. It's like, so first of all, there were like no time gaps shown on any cardboards or something. So usually on road races, you know that even though they have radios to communicate underneath each other or to each other, they always have like a cardboard where it's the time written, how many people are in front. And in this case, there was no boards to be seen in the men's and women's race. I think that's not right. That should be changed in the future. And then wait, what was the other point?
That was a question that I actually wanted to ask you,
Yeah.
by the way, Paul. How much info you as riders have during
No
the
informations.
race?
No informations. There were like a few national teams or uh, trade teams who showed up cardboards where they
In the
set the
feed
time.
zones?
Yeah,
Did
and
they
in
shout at you like time gaps or something?
no,
But
not really. So you
okay.
never really knew how the situation was, and in the women's race, I guess was the same. And then also for us TV viewers, I think the time gaps were not always shown on top, like on the road races. So I think, yeah, there's still room to improve, but overall, I think the coverage was definitely like ages better than last year, where there was actually no coverage, especially for the women's race. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true. This I remember as well. So in the pictures that we saw, the recorded pictures we saw 2 times, we picked up that Lorena Wiebes must have had some kind of technical issue. I think it was a tire related. But then we are finally coming live. And what is the situation that unfolds? We see that Kopecky is ahead with Marianne Vos. They are 36 seconds ahead of Wiebes chasing alone is what we see, and we ask ourselves what's happening here. Is it weird team tactics by Netherlands again, like in the road world championships, or is Wiebes trying to bridge? But no, as we then learn a bit later, that is not actually what was happening, but rather she was in this group with Kopecky and Voss together with the Italian Soraya Paladin, but they were dropped by the two. That is what we find out later. And yeah, at this point in time, Vives is 15 seconds ahead of the group with Peterse, Romy Kasper, Paladin, and Nicole Frayne, the former Aussie champion on the road as well. So pretty strong group. And then after a while, we see the quote unquote peloton. They are like another minute behind, and there are some notable names: Lauren Stevens, Lucinda Brandt, Rosa Klöser, Caro Mignor, Whitney Allison, and many others. We see the USA riding at the front of this peloton group. But yeah, so we come live, and essentially at this point, I don't know about you, but I think pretty much it's clear that Kopecky or Voss are not going to be caught.
Yeah, exactly. Regarding the team tactics, I think it was more tactics towards the trade teams than the actual national teams. You could see that, and I also saw that in the men's race. So it's really odd that you have world championships and you're used to that when you actually wear your national jersey, you're riding for your national team. But in gravel, it's different. You basically still riding kind of for your trade team, and I think you could see that in parts. But yeah, when the pictures came live and we saw Kopecky and Voss, I think it was clear that they probably won't be caught again, and that's how it was. And in the back, you could see also that Lorena Wiebes was actually the strongest from the chasers, and she tried it numerous times but couldn't get away. But what I saw from the beginning when the pictures went live is that Kopecky looked good, but not. She looked really strange on the bike. She not comfortable, and you could also see that she was stretching her back all the time.
Multiple times,
yeah. And after the race, she mentioned that she had back pain, and also then the way Marianne Vos was riding, you could like how she was turning her legs and how she reacted to attacks. Could we see? Oh, she's probably on a really really good day, and yeah. But yeah, from that point on, I think that the race was boring is the wrong word for it, but it was like pretty straightforward. You kind of knew what's going to happen. The two girls will go for the finish and sprinting it out most likely, and in the back they're looking at each other. The time gap's getting bigger and bigger, and yeah, so it was a pretty spectacular race from that point on in my eyes.
Yeah, definitely. But I think so. What I was seeing okay, we don't follow them 100% of the time, but to me it looked like Voss, of course, was relaying and doing some work, but it felt like Kopecky was doing the majority of the work and was leading in like all the technical passages of the course. And I think she did race it very smart, Marianne Voss. Like making sure they stay away, but also not spending everything during this phase of the race. So keeping a bit. So, but like you say, we see the time gap grows. Wiebes finally gets caught by the second group at around like 40K to go. And then we see both Netherlands ladies are just sitting on in the group, at least initially. And group 2 syndrome unfolds. We have 2 of the 5 riders in the group not working. It's not like the Netherlands ladies are super destructive, but they also don't really work. And we see Frayne and Romy Kasper are doing the majority of the work, but obviously they cannot pull back Voss and Kopecky.
Yeah, and yeah, with Marianne Voss tactics, she's so smart, and I think she's really good in like playing with other riders, and you could see that she was using Lotte Kopecky really like to her best, because she knew Lotte Kopecky wanted to win, and she was also on a good day, obviously, and she was using it for herself. And she also knows that Kopecky is like a rider who, at least it feels sometimes like she gets a bit carried away by like showing too much. And yeah, Voss made it really smart, and you could also see the attacks Kopecky made, that Voss was always able to directly react and be on the wheel, while when Voss actually attacked, Kopecky really had to suffer and really had to work hard to close these gaps. So yeah, from that point of view, Voss was, I think, not just the smartest but also the strongest on that day.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And so we get to the face of the race with like 30K to go, and then we see jabs happening, as I say. So we see there is an acceleration by Kopecky on some technical terrain. It opens one of the gaps you were talking about. Voss closes it, looks not too stressed about it. What I see at this moment, and that is different in a man's race, luckily, but we don't get lifetime gaps. So it's a bit, we only at some checkpoints get new time gaps, but we don't really know how far the groups are away. And it's pretty much the same passage where in the chase group we see Peters opening a gap which Romy Kasper closes down, and it looks like the attacks are going on here and there. But one thing I was wondering about is, as a TV viewer, you sometimes don't know if it is really an acceleration and an attack or just line choice. If somebody just gets away because they put out constant power on a better line than the others, that is hard to know. Maybe
Yeah,
you knowing the course, you can see it, but
yeah, for sure. There are always some bits where you're actually putting out constant power. You might be faster than someone who's pushing actually really hard but taking a wrong line. And certainly that course had a lot of these parts. I don't know exactly which situation you mean, but for sure Puck Pete as a mountain biker and cross rider is used to just
like
choose the right line.
Open field way, like 30K with 30K to go.
Yeah. This long stretch you mean where like the helicopter was also next to them, I think.
Yeah,
exactly. Especially there. Yeah, you had like some bits where it was like a single trail through a field, so and the path was like maybe 2 tire widths wide, so you riding directly on the wheel was pretty hard because you didn't see where to go, so you had to leave a gap. And if you're really good at it, you can use it for your advantage. Yeah, definitely. So the course in general, because before some people said again it's like a bike path world championships, it was a pretty tough course. Yeah, we were riding on bike paths quite a lot, but the off-road bits were actually technical and challenging. So it's not like that we were just riding on bike paths from left to right. So it was still a proper gravel course. Yeah.
And then with like 25K to go, we see that Peters starts pushing harder. At some point, Frayne, the Aussie, gets dropped. We see then the group coming back together, but it's really jabs from here and there. And then at some point, we see Peters talking to her teammate. Of course, we don't know what has been said, but then eventually Frayne gets dropped. And on at the lead of the race, we see Voss attacking with like 20k to go, also being brought back. But it's really this phase of race. Everybody's testing everybody in the race for bronze. Eventually, the Italian she gets dropped, and then we have Romy, Kasper, Vives, and Puck essentially fighting it out for the bronze medal. It looks like. And we then have a attack of Wiebes with 12k to go. It also looks a bit like Peters is letting the wheel go. So then Kasper has to bring it back, spent a lot of effort. So in that sense, they played it pretty well in this stage of the race. What did you think when you saw like these Group 2 dynamics?
Yeah, so like that moment when Peter let the wheel go, it was also like this uphill bit I talked in the preview about.
Yeah, the like 2k 5%
Yeah,
apart.
so and that was pretty tough. And I have to say that Romy Kasper was bloody strong. So I knew she probably will be around like top 10 because she also won UCI race in Hufalise, which is also a really tough course, and she's a really good road rider. But hanging on there for actually fighting for a bronze medal, I didn't see that coming. And yeah, she was on a really good day. She also crashed earlier in the race, where she actually had to like readjust her handlebar because it was sidewards. And she came back then, obviously, and was still strong enough to make all the cuts. So yeah, luckily she had a good day and could close some gaps. But I think in the end it was quite hard to fight against these two riders. And then in the end, of course, when you're such a situation, two Dutch against one German, on that point you're working together as Dutch riders because it's for your benefit as well. And but I still think that all of this group, Lorena Wiebes was the strongest, all of these three, and you could also see on like the body language from Brooke Peters that she was on her limit quite a few times when Lorena Wiebes was still looking quite good.
Yeah. So then in the last 5k, it's the first time in the women's race that we see age groupers and not a lot of them being caught. And we see Marianne Vos attacking on like what looked like a little cobbled kicker with like 1.7, 1.5k to go before the finish line. She sets up this attack, but also gets brought back, and we see a sprint.
Yeah, and that sprint was made pretty smart from her. I mean, you could see that Kopecky wanted a real slow sprint and a short sprint, just with the kicker. And I was actually worried for Marianne because I saw she must have used 46 chainring in the front mono, and so she has 4610, which is still relatively big gear. But Kopecky was on like 2x chainring, so I think she might have like a 50 or 52 as the biggest chainring. So I thought, okay, if that sprint gets really long and fast, it could be.
What is she on? Is it like a 52-10 or 11?
I know, also 10 then. Yeah.
Okay.
It might be a disadvantage, but the kick from Marianne in the end, and also then the speed she had left in her legs was better than the one from Kopecky, and she won easily, I would say, or controlled.
What was your impression? Who was more happy to go to the sprint with the other one?
I think Marianne was more confident, because I mean the way.
But then why does she attack with 1.5 to go?
Yeah, to try.
Just to okay.
Yeah, I think you tried. So like what I can read out of it is that she felt really comfortable all day, the way she was riding and reacting, and of course you just try, But then she settled into like the sprint, and she didn't open it up early, so she wasn't nervous. I think she knew what she had to do. I mean, she has won so many races in her career, and she has won quite a few sprints. And you could see her Kopecky, I think she was more desperate to like really getting rid of Vos, But at one point, I think she didn't have the legs anymore, and also back pain. So her only option was actually to go for the sprint and to not maybe waste more energy trying to attack. And yeah, she just didn't have the legs in the end for it. I think a Kopecky with the right legs and without back pain, it would have been closer. But if Marianne Vos is on her day, as she was on that day, I think it's hard to beat her on such a race. And yeah, it's just unbelievable how many world titles she has won in her long career. And yeah, she's a true goat of
Yeah.
professional cycling. Yeah.
I mean, she really is, and now she has like so many different discipline world championship jerseys. Um, to be honest, she was not at the top of my favorite list. I didn't. She had, I think, a better season this year than last year, but I was still, yeah, I was a doubter.
Mhm.
Had her in my second tier group, but the race, how she rode it, how she won it, it was super convincing. And I heard somewhere, I didn't verify it to be honest, but that head-to-head sprint finishes against Kopecky, she still has the upper hand. So and apparently so. This as well was a super hard attritional race, and to win it in this manner, impressive. I think well deserved. But I would like to talk about the finish itself with you. Um, I I get what is great about the finish and how it was in the middle of the town, but I feel gravel world championship finishes should be the finish line should be on gravel. And I get it from like the fans, the atmosphere there, that is brilliant. And for the race organizer, it is brilliant. And I guess for the riders, it's really cool to have that many people because it was packed in the women's race was full, was super packed at the men's finish. But then me, I'm thinking, look, if it gets picked up by news and they say with like 5 seconds, 10 seconds of pictures from obviously the finish line, here the gravel world champion is won, and then you see a picture that a non-cycling fan knows looks exactly like Tour de France finishes they've seen in the news, you have no clue what gravel is and what it is about.
Yeah, I agree, but I also disagree because I think what we saw there was really good for the sport of gravel because it was a massive platform and also the pictures going around the world in front of a big crowd. You wouldn't be able to put so many people in a place somewhere in a field, or it will be harder. And then also like the background just looks amazing. So yeah, I get it, and it's right. Maybe it should finish on gravel, but in the same time, I think it was a worthy spot to finish this race, to finish the World Championships in front of a massive crowd with a nice panorama. So yeah, it's. I hope they show more than just 5 seconds of a race. That you actually can see that we went through forest and through gravel, and
Of course,
yeah, but
this I would hope for as well.
yeah, but the finishing line. I mean, I was there, and it was nice, and the Belgians made it to a proper like cycling festival. So therefore, I'm actually happy that it was where it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I get this point as well, and I guess it's hard to construct it. I think there are off-road finishes that also can
And
accommodate quite some people. Unbound,
just one
yeah,
point. Unbound finishes also on road. The last 2Ks are on road. So last 2 or 3Ks. Actually, most gravel races finishing on road. So like the bigger ones, Steamboat Gravel finishes on road. So I think it's yeah, it's just part of it. But there it's also becoming again to the point. So to talk about what is gravel, how it should look like, and for me, riding on the road is also part of being a gravel rider, being a gravel course. So yeah, I think there are different perspectives to it. But maybe one day we will have a finish on dirt, but also with as much space as we had in Leuven and with the same atmosphere. Then I will also be happy. Yeah, but I think
the
for
the
this it
tracker
was
finish is off-road. No, I remember when you were running over the finish
yeah.
line there, and that could accommodate quite some people there. But yeah, of course, it's like logistically, you don't always find a spot that is perfect
Yeah.
like this. And would people come then, right? Would all the casual cycling fans move to somewhere that is not
Yeah.
at the city center?
And what we shouldn't forget is that the infrastructure behind such an event is massive, and you need space. And there was TV stations, all the Orga stuff, so that actually needs space, and you don't often find that. Of course, you have that in cyclocross races, where yeah, but yeah, I think it was a convenient place to do it, and for me, it felt right, and yeah. But obviously, I get it when people have different opinions about it.
So let's come to the men's race. And there's broadcast supposed to start or did start at 2:15. So the last roughly 2 hours of the race being shown live. And at the beginning, we see some of the recorded footage. And in this recorded footage, at some point, I spot you next to Florian Rassmann at the front of the. At this point, I guess it's still the peloton or the front group or whatever, with the Belgians and the people from the Netherlands riding at the front. So you were pretty good position. And then we come live, and the situation that we see as TV viewers here is that MVDP has been brought. So he was solo in the recorded pictures for a while, and then he has been brought back by a strong group, including Mohoric, both Vermeesch, so Gianni and Florian, Quinten Hermans, Tim Melier, Govica, Connor Swift, Toon Arts, Jonas Lindberg, and several others, and a lot of Belgium jerseys as well in the group. But we sadly don't see anybody from Germany, not you, in this group.
Yeah.
What happened before we go live?
What happened before the TV went live? Yeah, so with like 60, so first of all, after 20Ks, there was a big pull up, a big crash, and like a single trail descent through the fields. A lot of riders were caught behind it, including me. There was the first time where I actually had to make a big effort to close that gap and to ride to the front. But luckily, I had pretty good legs that day or yesterday, and I was able to close the gap. Many haven't been so lucky to do so.
Before this, we talked a bit in our preview about the start and how you very quickly go into this very tiny section next to the river. How did the start go, and what position did you start in?
So I started in 26th position on the start grid. So and the positions were determined by your UCI Gravel World Series points, plus 50% of UCI road points, mountain bike, cyclocross.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it. Maybe even mountain bike marathon. And yeah, so I was on 26th position. I went into that part on the river. No one luckily fell into the river. I went into I don't know, top 10 or something. So I was quite well positioned. And then before that switch back, I was also good positioned. And yeah, from then on, it was actually just going fast all the time. We had also quite a bit of wind, so there was always bits where you had crosswind, and which you couldn't see also on TV is the starting loop had a lot of farm single trails, so where you have actually a few lines next to each other, but just one line which wasn't muddy, and so the fight for that position was there quite hard. And when you went off that ideal line, you were in the mud and pretty slow, so that was quite demanding and technical. And yeah, we basically went with a big group. Just the first time through Halle. So after 13Ks, everything was almost together, and we went towards Leuven. And from that on, the hilly part and also the more technical part and more off-road part started to yeah. And then after around 20Ks, after a small hill, and there was a single track, downhill through the fields, there was a big crash. I don't know on which position, maybe position 40 or 50. So I wasn't really well positioned at that point. I was also caught behind it, like many others. As I just mentioned, I was able to close that gap. And from that point on, the race was actually on. Alpecin Koenig took on the race. I'm specifically say the team and not the nationality, because it were Belgians who were riding for Mathieu, because they were his teammates. And so we had Alpecin Koenig train, and I was surprised actually how many guys they brought to the start line. Were quite a few. And they kept the speed high, and it was the whole time left and right, up and down. 2 times I tried to accelerate myself a bit to like see what happens, but nothing really happened until actually 60 k's into the race. By that time, I think we were in the front, maybe like 30 or 40 guys just left.
Mm-hmm.
And Mathieu attacked on like an incline on the right side of the path, and I was on the left side. He attacked, and this like short time I couldn't react was enough that he got a gap. And it's just amazing when his kick is just like a rocket. It was really like you like on, like when you, how you say it in English, aus dem Augenwinkel.
Like you see in passing.
Yeah, you see him passing, and you're just like, I have to react, and suddenly he got already like 50 meters out of nowhere, and he attacked there, and I was still able to react, but like, so this initial gap he got, he was holding towards me, and then I had like a gap to the back as well, to the followers or to the chasers, and so I was hanging in between there, and then I decided to wait for the group to chase him together. And then Mathieu was just off, and I thought, all right, the race is probably over here. But then also quickly realized that he never really got a big gap, so we could always see him. And that actually in the back we were not really like all working together at that point, because his teammates were always blocking or not working and destructing the chase.
And we are still at this roughly 60k.
Yeah, so it's like 60. Mark. Yeah, so that's
so with 120k to go. So do you think at this point he's trying to do the Pogacar, or do you think he is more testing and making it really hard at this point?
To be honest, at that point you could see that some guys were already not on the limit, but not as comfortable anymore. And I see why he went, but then also we had pretty strong winds. So there was also quite a few parts with strong headwind. And I mean, in the end, he went, and we were not working properly together. Mohoric attacked there with his teammate. Connor Swift tried it. I tried it. So there was no really collusion. So, and also Florian Vermeersch tried it. So it made sense to try it. And I mean, we know Mathieu can do it. He has done it in the past. But yeah, anyway, then like in the back we tried to working together, and then like this small incline before the third feed zone at around kilometer 70, I attacked again. There we got a bit of a gap with Florian Vermeersch, Freddy Rassmann, another German, and I think Quinten Hermans. And then through the feed zone, we just like kept going. Then Jasper Stuyven attacked. So there was a lot of attacks trying to chase Mathieu alone and so on. But then everything came back together again. Mathieu was still in front. And then with around 75 k's to go, after 75 k's, Florian Vermeersch actually attacked on like a rough cobblestone section with also sharp stones. He got a gap, I closed the gap, and we both got a gap and went away, and we quickly could get a few seconds, but then I got my puncture, which basically ended my race. And from that point on, I don't know what happened until I was at my car and I could switch on the TV to see actually how the race was going. But then the next thing I heard is that Mathieu got caught, I think, in Leuven from the chasers. And basically my race was over at that point. I felt pretty good, I have to say, that day, and all under control, and was was a good feeling to be able to just react when everyone was going, and that I was definitely not the weakest, and could go with everybody except Mathieu. And but then that was my day.
Well, for you, I really feel for you, because I think if you have such a good day and this happens, and it didn't even happen on gravel but on the cobblestones. So
Yeah, it was a gravel. It was a really old cobblestones
yeah,
on the side with like sharp rocky stones, and they hit the side wall, and then I couldn't get it fixed, and also here we did
yeah.
almost 40 k's an hour at that point when
At
you
this
have
point,
to.
you can't come back.
If you, it took me a long time to be able to ride again, but then I lost again the tire pressure. The race was over at that point.
Yeah, definitely. And you don't have like a 6-man team with strong rouleurs to bring you back. So
Yeah,
that's the race at this point. I mean, that's also the gravel, or I guess in this case the cobble classic issue, right? It's a bit of a crap shot with technical stuff. Um, maybe maybe if Dylan Johnson would be here, he would say you should all be riding on mountain bike tires because they are so puncture resistant. I don't know, but yeah, I think there were most people in the front group were more or less on uh, uh, not road tires, but
semi slicks.
wide road tires.
On semi slicks. So
Yeah.
it's, and the sidewall cut. It just can happen. It's was bad luck, and a few people had punctures in the end. So it's just so it is obviously not the world champ. Mathieu has not really often any issues. You have to say, but it's just how it is.
So let me tell you what happened in the race in the time where you were gone, or at least once the broadcast was live again. So as you say, this big group called Mathieu. We had the group that I mentioned earlier. Then we see with like 80K to go, there are some splits in the group, and then it comes back together. And I guess they are going pretty hard at this point from how it looked like. We see for a while the Netherlands riders setting the pace. Belgium, Slovenia, they are all well positioned in there. Of course, we have the trade team dynamics that you mentioned about. So some Belgians are actually riding for Mathieu, and for a long or rather long time, we don't even know who is group 2, who is chasing in there. Is it still relevant? And then once we see it, we know that Frederik Rassmann and Tish Benoot are like 225 back. So it's clear that the winner is going to come from this rather big group. And then with 60K to go, we see another MVDP attack, and only Connor Swift can follow. While we see at the back of the group, we see Nasen, and I think Jasper Stuyven, but not 100% sure, is struggling a bit at the back of the group. And then MVDP flicks his elbow, says to Connor Swift to come around. And by the way, for those of you who don't have it top of mind, Connor Swift was the bronze medalist last year. But Swift doesn't relay initially. So MVDP rides at the front. The gap is not huge, not looking huge, but still they are clearly gone. Eventually, Swift will also start riding with the two. We see Mohoric trying to jump, but he has 4 Belgians right in his wheels: Stuyven, Gianni and Florian Vermeersch, Quinten Hermann, so he doesn't get back. The Belgians obviously not working at this point in time. And yeah, I think at this point we know where we think that MVDP hard to bring back. And then the group gets 30 seconds, and at 40 Ks to go, they have 1:10. We don't get to see a lot from the chase group. And at 40K to go, Florian Vermeersch goes after. Oh, I didn't mention, but finally the two are brought back by the group. So it was a brief attack. Swift and MVDP are back, but the gap is never that big that they get away. And at 40K to go, Florian Vermeersch goes. and MVDP jumps right in the wheel, and they are gone. Mohoric, he has like a moment of hesitation, and we have Vermeersch, MVDP at the front. And at this point, I'm wondering, with all these Belgians there, Vermeersch trying to going for the attack. Is that smart, or
You mean Florian Vermeersch?
Florian Vermeersch?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he
Yeah.
attacks 40k to go. MVDP is in the group. He has 3 teammates, and I saw some people, they say, well, at this point, the Belgians shouldn't attack. They should just follow all attacks from Mohoric, from MVDP, from maybe Connor Swift, who is still in this group.
Yeah. In my eyes, Vermeersch was after Mathieu the strongest rider left in the race. So to make that move, he had to make that move so early, relatively early, because he's not the fastest in the sprint. And the further you go into the race, it's not getting easier the race in the end from the course, but it was still enough time to make a decent gap. And I think he knew that Mathieu will come with him, but also he knew that Gianni Vermeersch is Mathieu's teammate, and Quinten Hermans as well. They won't ride when Mathieu is there. So it was a really, really smart move actually to do that. So yeah, in the end, I think he after Mathieu was.
So it's an attack to secure silver, or is it an attack to win?
I mean, he obviously tried to win, but he made, yeah, he wanted to make sure that he has a shot on it. But, you know, Mathieu will have closed the gap anyway. Either his teammates will have worked for him, or he will have, as he did, close it directly. So I think he knew that. But he gets higher chance by doing it the way he did it. Because, you know, if the group is just riding together towards the finish line, Mathieu has 2 teammates who are going to ride for him, leading him out or closing gaps. And Mathieu's most likely the fastest sprinter. So there were not many options also for Florian Vermeersch to really go for medal. Because in the sprint, we saw that in other races, he is not the fastest. But he is really good at these hard, long races and long attacks. So he played his strengths. And for me, it was a really smart move. And you never know what happens, you know. Like, I mean, I got a puncture. It could also have happened that Mathieu maybe gets a puncture, and then, you know, he will become world champ. So I think it was a good move. And yeah, you could. And then also in the pictures you could see that in the back, the Belgians, or like Mathieu's teammates, they disrupted it so much. So yeah.
As you say, Mathieu basically has like 2 teammates in the group, even though they wear blue jerseys, and he himself just jumps on the wheel of Florian Vermeersch. Do you think he was like the favorite Belgian to attack from Mathieu because he closed it himself? Otherwise, he could have said,
Yeah.
"Okay, my teammates close it." I think he was happy to go with him, right?
Yeah, he had the legs, and I mean, in the race, you realize who has legs and who has not. You know, they don't need to attack necessarily, but you see how they move in the bunch and so on. And we also know from the past, I mean, Florian Vermeersch was last year already second at Gravel World Championships, and he was second at Roubaix, I think. And everyone knows that when he is on a good day, he is strong at these ultra hard races, and that was an ultra hard race until that point. And yeah, most likely he will be the top opponent for Mathieu, so he went with him. Yeah, and I also think Mathieu was just good, so for him to react there, it didn't cost him much, you know. He just reacts and looks what's happening, and then yeah, okay, we go, and then yeah, the rest is history. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I mean, in the chase group, of course, for a moment the gap doesn't grow too big with like 36k to go. It's like 15 seconds, but we also see the Belgians that are left in the group, and whose ever teammate they are at this point in time, they disrupt the chase, and we see Mohoric and Connor Swift trying to bring it back, but then it suddenly balloons to 20 seconds, 25, and then we come with around 30k to grow to the Bremberg, which is this 800-meter climb that is on the track, and we see that in the group 2 that gets there. In group 1, not a lot happens at this point between they ride together, Mathieu and Florian Vermeersch, but really it looks so disorganized that there is, at this point, the race is over.
Yeah, and you could also see in the back.
Mohoric and Swift don't want to ride, and it seems like they are happy to ride for the third place at this point.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they were happy to ride for third place, but
Maybe not happy, but
they had also no other option because I mean they realized that Gianni Vermeersch was struggling quite a few times, so he always got a bit of a gap, and then also I mean Quinten Hermans. Most of them know about his finish. He is quite good. So how much do you actually invest as Mohoric and Connor Swift? The only option to really go away is to go away with one of the Belgians. But then also Mohoric and Connor Swift were the strongest out of this group, you know? So like Mohoric was always able to close a gap to a Belgium and then Connor Swift and vice versa. So it was really hard for them to go away. And then at the same time, Gianni Vermeersch wasn't strong enough to make any proper move. So it was really a tricky situation for them. And in the end, Alpecin Koenig, I have to say, played it quite smart and made the best out of it. Yeah.
And I think if it would have been an organized group, it would have been possible to bring them back. We see, there's this, I call it the cyclocross passage. And in the cyclocross passage where it makes this 180-degree turn around something in the middle, there is, we see a picture of Group 2 where Connor Swift is doing a pull, and it looks like a good pull, and suddenly the gap goes down to 20 seconds again after I think it was at around 30 before. So they were not riding all-out threshold at the front. And but yeah, then you see right away the Belgians going to the front, and there is no way to get this group organized and work well together.
Yeah, I mean, what you can't forget is that Mathieu wasn't probably on his limit riding in the front, so if he had to, he could have ridden faster, and I think also Florian Vermeersch could have invested more. So I think by that time or by that point, there would have been no chance to really close down that gap. You needed in the back like 2-3 other guys, like really strong guys, to actually bring them back. But then but no one will cover it 100% because you always have these other two Belgians sitting on and just being annoying. So
And nobody has time gaps, and it's hard on this course. You don't see if somebody is like 20-30 seconds away. You don't see them necessarily because it's making so many turns and so on. But that goes for both, right? In the front, they don't really know how big their gap is, and the other two also don't.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I mentioned at the beginning. I think that that has to change in the future because it's a World Championship. It's a really big race. It's the end. You get a white jersey with nice stripes, and you should know what the time gaps are and what the race situation is. And I think they have to work on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so this episode at this cyclocross passage, as I recall it, is the last time we see the gap this small. Then it very quickly balloons to 40 seconds, over a minute, and that's it. Then we can just. I don't know if people think that Florian Vermeersch can win this race. To me, it's pretty clear that gold and silver are a done deal, and the race that we are left to watch is what happens with the bronze medal. Still, of course, a good placement, a good result for anybody. And yeah, in this group, at some point we see Swift and Mohoric opening a small gap to the Belgians, but then the next time we get a picture from this group, they are all back together. So the games are on, and it's playing in there. Nobody is trying to really chase and to catch them, as we said. At the front, the next thing that happens is at this, I don't know if you know the name, but this steep hill, the 2K, 5% climb with 12, 13K to go. There, MVDP lines up an attack. He prepares it well. He makes sure that Florian Vermeersch is leading into this climb. Then he attacks, and Florian doesn't even try to follow.
Yeah,
at this point, he knows he can't, and he doesn't want to blow up, smartly so. Yeah. And we see Mathieu crossing the line and making his sponsor very happy by lifting his bike after he crosses the line.
Yeah. And no, that was the right moment for Mathieu. And I think also the last real moment to get straight away a really big gap, and he used it. And yeah, Florian Vermeersch did the right thing. I think reacting there and going really deep, might blows doors, and then he maybe gets catch because he doesn't know how big the gap is. So and yeah, I think he knew that the
He
chance.
said so. He said as much in the interview afterwards
Yeah.
that he knew he couldn't follow.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think in the end, the result we have there with Mathieu winning and Florian Vermeersch second, it's a worthy result. And then also in the back, the Belgian played it really smart, or Albertine Koenig, and yeah, I think for me, Quentin Hermans also deserves to be on there because he was strong. So as long as I was in the race, he was also one of the guys who was always be able to react. And but obviously Connor Swift and then also Mathieu Mohoric would have been worthy.
Let's talk about this sprint, but also, so unlike in the women's race, we see already with I think 40k to go, age groupers are getting caught, and most of them are respectful, making room. One Netherlands guy, when Solo Mathieu is there, takes over another group and makes it a bit tight, but still everything goes well. But then there are a few age groupers where at the finish when the chase group arrives there, and of course there are games being played, everybody waiting, but it looks to me like, because there are so many age group riders just in the finish, that they all go super slow so that they can make sure the age groupers are done and out of the way when the sprint happens. It was a bit weird looking in the finale. I don't know if you saw this as well, but so then once there are no other riders in the way, we see Mohoric going first, but apparently he goes too early. He gets a little gap, but Connor Swift closes it, gets into his slipstream, goes around, but Quinten Hermans then is in his slipstream, still comes around, and we actually see the Belgians going for third, fourth, and fifth place. Stuyven is fourth, Gianni Vermeersch fifth, and Connor Swift sixth, and Mohoric seventh. And then from the group behind, it's Tim Melier on eighth place. From a German perspective, the best results that are from German riders is Jonas Koch is 19th, Roger Kluge 22nd, and Louis Neff 25th.
Yeah. Yeah. The Belgians did it smart. Nothing more to add. Connor Swift and Mohoric, yeah, they were chasing each other down, and then the Belgians used it for themselves. So yeah, I forgot about Jasper Stuyven. He was also in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he wasn't. I think he wasn't really on
his best day.
On his best day.
I think I saw him at some point struggle at a climb, more in the back of the group, losing the wheel, and yeah.
Yeah, when I was also still in the race, he didn't look that magic, like maybe last year at the Europeans where he won on like a similar course. But yeah, I think it was also from the beginning a really, really hard race, and the difference also to road racing is that you're constantly on the gas, even on the wheel. So then I think you could see that made some people really, really tired.
And so one thing that we saw in both the women's and the men's race, and that I want to talk to you about, we saw the favorites working themselves and investing, making it hard from really early on. Like you told me, Mathieu doing it like after 60k with 120k to go, and I think the Kopecky Marianne Vossetek was also rather early in the race with like, I guess they were gone with 50, 60k to go, maybe. So in both cases, it's favorites really going early. I mean, we see this on the road with certain riders like Pogacar, obviously, but is it how you need to ride these gravel races where you cannot use teams to the same extent as you can on the road?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the main reason, that you don't really have the team to control it. But then also the speeds are not as high, and you can make faster difference if you're really much stronger. So yeah, what Mathieu did was maybe a bit too early, the first one, but then also I think he needed to try, like for him. I'm not necessarily 100% sure that if it was a test, to see what happens, or if it was like a real all-in attack.
So in his interview, he said that his goal was to make it hard and create separation early on. So
Yeah.
it didn't sound like he wanted to do the 120K time trial solo, but more like to really create separation and turn it into a very small selective group
Yeah.
from early on,
Yeah.
which is interesting, no? Because he has so many teammates, Netherlands teammates, but also or Dutch teammates, but also the trade team teammates. So
Yeah, but a controlled pace. So like the guys working for him are on this terrain maybe not the favorites, are not stronger than guys who also want to go for the podium. So you don't make them really that much tired, you know. So and then it makes sense to make the race from the beginning side, especially when you're as good as him, you know.
Yeah.
And the same in the women's race. Marianne Vos and Lotte Kopecky, probably such a hard race played in the hand of Marianne Vos than for Kopecky on that day.
Yeah.
And
especially after, I mean, we saw Kopecky in the road worlds. She was already dropped at some point. She came back, but this race 1 week before must still have been in her legs in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, so I think it was the right move, and yeah, of course you have to gravel races a bit different. But yeah, I mean, in the end, if you're Mathieu van der Poel or Marianne Vos, you're anyway on a different level, on a different planet sometimes. So it feels all not as hard as it does maybe for us normal people. So, but yeah, I think it were the right moves, and in the end, I mean, it played out. He was riding in the front for a while alone, and then still be able to react. So when he got caught, to react again to certain attacks and then make again the final move. So yeah, he was by far the strongest. Yeah.
So another thing that I think we need to mention, or I want to mention, is the fan support was really great, and we already talked about the finish and how many fans were there. But even along the road in the off-road segments we saw on TV, there were quite a few people out there. Maybe not more than two level amounts of fans, but still, I guess riding there in the. Did you make it to the final loop? Or did you crash before the final loop? So in the final loop, I guess it was a good atmosphere as a rider.
Yeah, it was awesome, but it felt also shit to ride around really slow on a flat tire,
Yeah,
and then to get off course because everywhere were people. But no, it was amazing, and it was a really special World Championships. I mean, last year in Italy, I have to say, it was also an awesome atmosphere, and also last year at the European Championships. So I think it's also a good point in the year where these championships happening. So like for people to come and to see it, and yeah, no, it was fantastic, and yeah, I think it was really well organized and race, and was a success. Yeah, but yeah, it's just nice to see so many people coming to the side of the road. Yeah.
So last topic, you revealed on Instagram, I guess the day before the race, your tire choice, which you can probably talk about. And in general, what type of tires and tech did you see? Did you spot something unexpected, something interesting?
Yeah, so Marianne Vos and I think Tish Benoit were, so like Visma Lise bike riders were using these inflatable hubs, or like where there's like a compressor in the hub to inflate the tires, to control the tire pressure. It's not a new system. I think 2022.
We saw it at Paris-Roubaix, right?
Yeah,
and they updated it a bit as well.
Yeah, exactly. There was used back then, but now they're updated, as you mentioned. And yeah, what I saw at the start line was, I saw a lot of like slickish kind of tires, not like full slick like I had, but like semi slicks. I mean, Mathieu was using a tire which was a slick in the middle of the tire, and on the side he had like, I wouldn't call it a profile. It was more like visual gimmicks, you know. They do a bit of work, but for example, I wasn't sliding around more than they did, and I could ride the corners as fast as they did. So I think there was no difference regarding that. And I think I didn't saw so many crazy tech. I just saw everyone except for one guy or two guys from the Tetima team. They were actually using road bikes, but the rest, everyone was on a gravel bike and had 40 mil tires. I think Marianne was using a 33 mil tire. I think was looking like a gravel tire or something. And yeah, so yeah,
Yeah,
I
some
think
people use cyclocross tires as well.
yeah, but I think mainly I saw 40. So 40 was like was a good size. And there also to my tire choice, I used a slick, but there to clarify, it is marketed as like a road tire, but it isn't necessarily a road tire because it has the same construction as the gravel tires from Schwalbe, so it has the same puncture resistance also on the side. Um, and the profile wasn't a problem with my puncture, so yeah, that could have happened with an so-called gravel tire as well. And yeah, but no real crazy tech, I have to say. Yeah, so just a standard tire you will choose for that race. But I also have to say, these races or like gravel gets so diverse now that the amount of different tires you need are now crazy. It's insane. Yeah, yeah.
And I guess these pressure control systems, do you think they will become commonplace for courses like this? I mean, if you are going between quite technical terrain and then pavement a lot, then these make a lot of sense if they work reliably.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, they're added weight, huh? So I don't know how heavy they are in the end, but yeah, it could definitely be an option, and I guess other companies working on it as well. I'm really curious how that will unfold and like develop. But yes, definitely something to look at in the future. Yeah.
Yeah. So as I said in the beginning, the Gravel World Championships are in the books. I think they were worthy World Championships. We've seen worthy winners and expected winners, to be fair. Of course, they were all road guys, but I think that is also what brings the fans and the attention to a race and an event like this. And hopefully, many of the people who come for the Kopecki's, Marianne Vosses, Mathieu van der Poels of this world also stay for the sport of gravel. Do you have some final words or thoughts on the championships that we didn't touch on yet, Paul?
No, I mean, just before the Worlds, there was again discussion about the qualification system or the not existing qualification system and the starting position, etc. I like that all the road women and men coming to the Worlds, and I think it's also really important, and I want them to be there. But I also think that we have to find a more equal system which benefits also gravel riders more. Because, of course, our points from the UCI World Series counting to 100%, but they're also for a win not as many as for like an UCI win or something. And I know UCI points from the road just count on 50%, but we don't have that many race days, and so on, so on, so on. And yeah, I think it would be nice in the future if participating in like a UCI World Series race, it's mandatory to be at the start line or to just prioritize UCI World Series points. Either way, to make it a bit more equal, that doesn't hinder Mathieu or Marianne Vos on winning, but it will just put us pure gravel riders more to the forefront, more in the front of the line, giving us a bit more attention and a bit more, just a bit more attention. I think that's important. That's also why I'm so sad that I couldn't deliver any result, because I believe I could have delivered a really good result, and it would have been nice to have at least one pure gravel rider up there in the front.
Yeah,
And,
definitely.
yeah. So I think
that's also the one thing that I was a bit sad about, because really nobody from the big genre names was high up there. Unlike last year, where we had like fifth place Keegan,
Svensson,
and I think so you probably could have had a pretty good result as well, as I told you in our preview, where I had you higher than you had yourself. So yeah, that is indeed the one point of pity, but let's see how the UCI develops this further. I hope. I mean, that is something maybe for another podcast, but I think like the Gravel World Series, especially could need a bit of work, a bit of more love from the UCI to turn it really into a neat packaging.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, just compare it to cyclocross and mountain bike. If you come as a road rider into cyclocross and mountain bikes, your points you have on the road are worth nothing. You have to start at the back. And to be honest, rightly so, because the specialists in this discipline are there all year long. So yeah.
And then one thing, I don't know if you would double that, but I saw a little review of the race on Instagram from Chet Hager, and he had a pretty late starting position, I think in the 60th or even 80th. And he said, well, if you look at the final placements, then 20 of the guys in the top 30 also had a top 30 starting position, because in his mind on this course it mattered so much. The way you described it, there was quite a large group still together a bit later in the race. So I don't know if you agree, but if starting position is so vital in a race, then indeed the measures you said would give a fairer or better fighting chance to the gravel specialists.
Yeah. So my last point to that is, I agree with what he said. I heard a lot of people saying they were caught behind that crash after 20 Ks. I was also behind that crash, and I almost crashed myself. I got also the gap, but luckily I got legs to close it again. So I think it's a combination of a lot of things in the end. But I also agree that starting in the back at this race made it not impossible. If you match with Van der Poel, it wouldn't have made any difference. But you are able to come to the front. For example, Juri Hollmann, a German guy for Alpecin de Koenig, he was starting in the 200 somethings, really far in the back. He was at the front before we went into into this descent where the crash happened. So you are still able to come to the front, but it takes a lot out of you. And then also, if you as a pure gravel rider, you're targeting the gravel worlds, you know you have to do UCI races. It's not enough to concentrate on Unbound and so on. You have to do UCI races. If you not have any prioritizing for the gravel worlds, that's fine. But then also afterwards, it's hard then to say you had a bad starting position. Mine was okay. I did a few races more this year to be able to start further in the front than I will have been otherwise. And I think that's an investment you have to take. And yeah, but I still agree that pure gravel riders should be more in the front than the roadies coming with their UCI points. But yeah, it's not just straightforward saying that is right. It's a combination of things. And I think, yeah, as you said, the UCI has to put a bit more love into it, but I think they want to. But at the same time, they want the road stars. They want to say the road stars coming over, and they want to make their life easier. Yeah. And on that way, they're forgetting about us pure gravel riders, that they make our life harder. Yeah.
So if you like this review and the race previews we lately did, then subscribe, like, recommend, share with your friends. And the season is not yet over. We still have a European Championships coming. We have the Gravel Earth Series finale coming. And of course, there is Big Sugar and the Lifetime Grand Prix final, even though, at least on the men's side, the winner is clear. And on the women's side, I think pretty clear. If not, I don't know if Sophia is also already through, but I guess.
Yeah. So
more or less so.
A few more episodes with Thomas. I will be there at some as well. And yeah, you can hear the next preview. Yeah, I don't know, this Thursday maybe. We will see when we are able to drop it. How much I have to cut out. So to the people who listened to the World's preview, who had like a 2-minute interaction between a father and his kids, or you heard nothing, sorry for that. But yeah, that's just sometimes happens. That's just life. Yeah.
It's kids.
So Thomas, thank you for your time, and listen to
thank
you or see you in 2 days.